Welcome on the show, Zak Carrick-Smith, British Alpine Skier.
The 16-year-old, one of three skiing brothers who call themselves the Carrick-Smith boys, was about to step up and become the main man. This incredible run gave him the lead.
Who won 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal in the Winter Youth Olympics.
And the gold medalist, Zak Carrick-Smith. A super slalom taking him to the top step of the podium.
The Britain's first ever Alpine gold at an Olympic event. How did that feel?
Very unexpected, but amazing. I've always had the same dream to become the best skier in the world, basically.
What has been the lowest point in your career so far? Welcome on the podcast, Zak Carrick-Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So if people don't know who you are, explain to them what you do.
I'm an alpine ski racer and I compete for Team GB. I'm 17 years of age, so I've literally just come out of the younger U16 category, which is like less big races, and now I've moved into the seniors, which is competing globally with all ages. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So let's go. Start of the interview. Let's go right back to the start. And what were you like as a young child?
Well, I was born in France in the Alps, like near Tignes Val d'Isère, if any of you guys know it. So there's a lot to do around there. We just kind of grew up, me and my 2 brothers. I have a twin brother, Freddie, and an older brother who's 2 years older than me, Luca. We all kind of grew up doing so much sport, just literally anything we could think of. And obviously growing up in the mountains where there's like ski resorts everywhere, we just skied every day pretty much. I mean, I literally got on skis at the age of 2 and then wow. Yeah. So, and both my parents are ski coaches and they used to run, well, kind of still do, run a club, a ski school in the Alps in France. So they just took us skiing. Yeah.
Yeah. At the age of, how was it like skiing at the age of 2? I'm guessing you can't really remember the first time on skis.
No, I can't remember, but it kind of just feels like I've been skiing my whole life, which I have. I mean, literally, we'd be doing school in the morning and then we'd finish at 4 and get in like an hour and a half of skiing straight from school. So yeah. And then we just kind of grew up doing loads of different sports, cycling, swimming, running, all that kind of stuff in the summer, wakeboarding, literally. We also do a lot of surfing too. Ever since I was young, every summer, go down to Cornwall or south of France, do some surfing. So quite an active family.
Yeah. So obviously you were born in France and grew up in the French Alps, as you said. So what influence did living in France have on you?
What do you mean? Like in my sport? Or?
As in like just generally as a person and then in your sport as well?
Well, I guess I went to school in France too until I was like 11. So learned to speak fluent French. And yeah, just living in the mountains, I guess, you're always in nature, and that kind of shaped me to become a very outdoors, like, sport person. Like, especially where I live, there's so much just sport pretty much. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you see yourself as like a mix of both British and French?
Well, I see myself more French. I've got dual nationality, double passport, but I've always felt more British because both my parents are British. I grew up in France, so I don't know. I definitely feel more British. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you say, obviously you were living in France, and that's where you first went on skis at the age of 2. But what is your first memory of skiing that you can remember?
I don't know. I guess probably like a family holiday to Austria, in a place called St. Anton. We just, ski around as family, nothing to do with competitive racing, anything like that. that would be my best, like my first memory on skis, to be honest.
Yeah, my brother actually did a season in St. Anton a couple of years ago, because I actually was born in Austria,
Yeah,
in Salzburg land in a ski resort called Mulbach, but we moved at the age of 2, so I didn't get much skiing in,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but we go back to Austria every year on a
yeah.
skiing
You know,
holiday. But I'm sadly not as good skiing wise as my brothers, who grew up like skiing in school in Austria, but I'm still not at their level yet.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Austria is probably my favorite country. I mean, for the past, like literally since COVID, we've had actually during COVID, we were in, like locked down in a place in Austria where there was one ski slope where we could ski. So it was
Oh
pretty perfect
no!
for us. No, it was actually quite good because everybody else
Oh,
was
was
locked in their house, and we had to ski. So and then ever since then, we've been coming back to Austria. So literally every winter we're in Austria, and it's just like, yeah, that's the place to be, to be honest.
yeah. So did you always know that you wanted to ski professionally, or has it like gained over time?
No, no, I always knew. I mean, my mum was actually a four-time Olympian in alpine ski racing, also raced for Team GB. So I guess that also influenced me. And I mean, if I look back on some videos of me when I was like 5, 6, and I get my dad up, like ask me, "So what do you want to do?" And it was the same as now, want to be the best in the world, basically. But yeah, I mean, I've always had the dreams the same.
Yeah. So if you didn't have that amazing opportunity of growing up in the Alps, do you think you would be where you are today?
Um, I don't know. I mean, there are quite a few. There's a few British ski racers who. There's actually one guy who has had World Cup podiums, World Cup wins. British skier who grew up in the UK on dry slope, so it's not like it's impossible. But I think it was like a massive help. I mean, literally just skiing my whole life, and just being introduced so young into that sport. It's just yeah. So it's definitely influenced me.
Yeah. So could you go through like your skiing journey from like first starting to where you are now?
Yeah. So literally, like I said, I started skiing at 2. Skiing after school, skiing on the weekend, just for fun. Joining in little clubs, stuff like that. And then probably ages 5, 6, maybe probably 6. I just started doing actual gates, like slalom training, and then just fell in love with it pretty much straight away. So my parents slowly put me into club races, just competing like regionally, and then from there on, it's just been just growing from there right up until last year, which was U16, the end of basically the kids category. And then last year, I moved into FIS, which is basically you're racing against all age groups, all everything, all countries internationally. And then, yeah, so I mean, last year was the best season I've ever had. I can't really describe it. I mean, I definitely didn't expect it. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm going into it with not really any expectations because the jump from kids to that like adult section is usually quite a hard one, quite different to it's quite different to kids. Anyway, I went into it with zero expectation, just wanted to ski my best, and I don't know. I came out. I actually ended up going to the Youth Olympics in Korea, where I came away with 2 gold medals and a silver, which still blows my mind. Definitely didn't expect that at the start of the seasons, but right now, I'm back. End of season, took a little break, went surfing, and now I'm back on the summer training. So that's where I'm now. Yeah.
Yeah. So when was that transition from like skiing and just racing clubs with school into actually doing the like being on the junior circuit, being on the kids' races?
Well, I joined into a French club with both my brothers, where we lived in the Alps, and then from there on, they took us to races, and there's like a tour of like French races. There's your region competitions, and then you kind of use those to qualify for like French championships and stuff like that. So you're just doing lots of those races up until 16 and then move on.
Yeah. So as you were born in France, as you mentioned previously, you have a French nationality, and you had the choice for racing between Britain or France. So was that a hard choice between the two? Obviously, as the French ski team has a lot more funding and is a lot more established than the British team.
Yeah, obviously it was a very hard choice. I've always felt more, like I said, I've always felt more British. So I wanted to compete for, a country that felt more like where I was from, or not where I was from. Yeah. And obviously GB in a sport like alpine skiing does not have like nearly enough funding compared to
Yeah.
the other countries like Austria, France, Italy, Switzerland, the skiing countries. So it was difficult in that sense, and we all knew it was going to be difficult. And we'd have to go out and kind of find our own sponsors to help us. But also another thing that kind of made the decision easier is that there isn't really any British skiers at the top. There's a few, maybe 2, 3. Whereas French skiers, like a French skier wins the World Cup, the Olympics, it's like cool, but it's like, they've done it before. But to have a British skier do it is, so that helped me.
Yeah, so having that like winning something is a lot more fulfilling as such, because Britain don't really win skiing.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to no, that's not the right word. I wanted to show that countries like Great Britain could also be right up there with the big skiing countries.
Yeah. So obviously, the UK sport cut the funding for alpine skiing in 2022. So how did that make you feel when you heard that news?
Well, it was crazy because, well, even before that, there wasn't any funding, as in it was just for the World Cup guys. We were all a bit shocked because they had literally just had the best season they've ever had. I'm pretty sure one of them, Dave Ruding, in World Cup had won a World Cup, the first ever British skier to win a World Cup in alpine skiing year before, and then got a podium that year. So it was a bit shocking. We were all a bit shocked, but yeah, I guess for the younger athletes and people where they aren't in World Cup, nothing really changed.
Yeah. So like, how does it work with costs and your training? And is there any help from GB Snow Sport, or is it actually entirely fully funded by you and your sponsors?
It's pretty much mostly funded by just us and our sponsors. We have to go out. We go out to we just have to go out and find people to help us, find sponsors, or if we're lucky, they come to us. There's still like a tiny bit from GB, but not nearly enough.
Yeah. So does that put like a strain on your training?
A little bit. Like for example, we've been wanting to. Right now, we're in Norway, training just for 2-3 weeks, and after this, we wanted to go to New Zealand, which obviously isn't a cheap trip, but because a lot of the other countries will be going either to New Zealand, America, Chile, whatever, to get that summer training in, do some summer races, and we needed the funding for that, so we've gone out and looking for funding for that. So fingers crossed we might go, but it it would help to have funding for this type of sport.
Yeah, and obviously one of the ways that you tried to get funding as well, you crowdfunded, didn't you? You raised
Yeah.
about over 30,000, was it?
Yeah. Well, we decided to do crowdfunding, and that worked out amazing. A lot of people that we knew actually decided to put some money into that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So at age 12, is this right that you were given the choice by your parents to continue school or start getting online schooled and go around skiing and ski racing? And so how was that choice for you?
Well, it was 11, 12. I was just moving out of, I guess, primary school in France, in French school, and my older brother had already gone into not quite private tuition, but he was he was the start of a big skiing academy just before it's gotten big. It's called Apex, and he had joined that. So yeah, it was difficult because obviously there's not much social when you're not in school. You still get it from traveling, but it wasn't going to be possible if I stayed full-time school. So, traveling to all the races, going to Austria, Norway, I had to decide to go online schooling.
Yeah, so how was that change for you?
It was it was good. I definitely learned more, I'd say, from online schooling because it's literally one-to-one with teachers. We've had some amazing tutors. But it wasn't too hard, no, because I knew it was what I wanted to do. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and with like the ski racing being such a big part of your life, has it affected your education in any way? Or with that one-to-one tutors, have you managed to keep up with it? And as you said, even maybe been better than it would have been in traditional school?
Well, it's been hard, but we managed to keep up with it. I actually, just to help me and my twin brother, we took an extra year for our GCSEs, so we've literally just done them this year. We were back in Cornwall doing them all there. And I'm not really like a very school person. I'm much more into the sports side. So even though I know it's very important to keep my studies, but yeah, it was hard, but we got it done. So yeah.
Yeah, so like how do you fit the schoolwork that you do into your day with skiing, training and all of that?
Well, most of our lessons we do in the afternoon. So because we're up skiing early in the morning at 6 a.m. Then we'll maybe back by 12, and then we got fitness in the afternoon. We'll do maybe an hour, 2 hours of literally one-to-one Zoom session in the afternoon. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know what it was. It was maybe I've heard something that 1 hour of one-to-one is like, but 3 to 4 hours of actual in school with 30 classmates.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did that, and then homework, just studying by ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so how has that like online school affected your friendships and relationships?
Well, I guess there's not as much social life as actually in school, but it's been all right. I mean, we live and travel with another family, the Butlers, Molly Butler, Matty Butler. Molly Butler, the older one, the girl, she came to the Youth Olympics with me, and then obviously when you're traveling, going to different races, you meet people all over the place, so it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned before about your two brothers. So how does it feel to get to train, ski and compete with your brothers?
It was tough at the start because we all kind of like arguing a bit, but we've got used to it, and it's actually, I think it really has helped me. especially with Freddie, my twin brother, because we're literally like, he'll beat me, I'll beat him, and then we're just constantly pushing each other. And in
Yeah.
training, the same. In training, I'll see him like have an absolutely awesome run, or my older brother even, and then that will make me push forwards. And yeah, so I see him do well. Obviously, I'll be a bit upset that it wasn't me, and then after 5, 10 minutes, I'm like proud of him. So yeah, it's really helped me.
Are you happy that you'll get to like experience your career along with your brothers, along with your family?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ever since I was younger, we've always kind of thought of the goal as being a World Cup podium, 1, 2, 3, all three of us. No matter who's 1, 2, 3, it really doesn't matter. But that's like been the dream.
Yeah, that would be an insane thing to see. Like, not only like three British people on the podium, but also three British brothers on the podium.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the aim. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so, like, so obviously you were saying that you had been previously in the under-16s, doing the junior circuit. So what was your biggest achievement in skiing before the Olympics?
Like I said, we have what's called the Coupe de Bronze, which is just your region, and then you have Coupe d'Argent, which is a little bit bigger than that, and then finally go into the Coq d'Or, which is U14 and U16, which is the French Championships, basically. And yeah, so that was definitely my biggest achievement because I qualified through all three with my twin brother. And then they have this thing, it's at first it's like a qualifying race, which counts as a race. My brother won that, my twin brother. And then we qualified into a parallel, which is two people next to each other. And I won that. That was definitely my biggest achievement.
Yeah. So obviously then you got selected for the Winter Youth Olympics. So what was that process that led you to being selected?
Yeah. Well, so going into the seniors, the FIS category, you have to, I knew I had to kind of get below a certain amount of points. That'd be tough to explain the point system. I'd be here all day. But basically, the lower the points, the better. And yeah, so I just had to get my points down, doing loads of races, tried to sneak in as many races as possible. Pretty much, we actually ended up doing 60 races this past season, which in alpine skiing is a lot. So yeah, I had to get my points down, and then they kind of selected you off consistency and your lowest points, who has the lowest points. And because it's GB, they were only allowed to select one person to go to the Youth Olympics, one girl and one guy, whereas the other countries got 6, 3 girls, 3 guys. So that was kind of tough, especially with my twin brother, who we're both hoping to go. It was literally right up until the last moment. I had better points, so they sent me. And then just after the selection was made, he actually overtook me and got better. He was better, so it was quite hard.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. But obviously, Freddie did get to go to the World Junior Championships, was it?
Yeah. Well, he won the U18 category in the World Junior Championships, so he managed to go to that.
Yeah, so you both actually had really good seasons, even though he didn't manage to get picked, and he wasn't allowed to get picked for the Olympics.
And he also, well, he ended the season number 1 in the world for his age in giant slalom.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he had a good
season. So how did it feel when you got the news that you were selected for Team GB for the Winter Youth Olympics?
Yeah, it felt amazing. I mean, also I had never been out of Europe, so it would be my first time and going to a country like South Korea was just an amazing experience. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, like, what was that difference like between, as you said, like skiing in Europe and then skiing in Korea? That must have been like insanely different.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it's still skiing, so it was the same in that aspect. Although the main difference is I'd come from Austria, where it was, maybe 50 degrees, to South Korea, where it was -30. So
Oh,
we had face tape to, so our face don't fall off. Yeah, so that was definitely different. And most of the snow there is artificial snow, so it's made, which I kind of like. It's got a nice feel to it, nice and grippy. So yeah, no, it was cool.
-30. That's
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. They actually had these. They had these tents at the start where the cables to the heaters were all frozen in ice, and they had to like defrost all the bars and water bottles.
oh no, that sounds absolutely horrible. I can imagine just going on like a really slow chairlift in -30.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it was like -30 at max, and then -20 to -30 for 2 days, and then in the end it ended at like -5, -10. So that was much
Tropical.
better. I know it felt tropical.
So you managed to win not only one medal but three medals at the Winter Youth Olympics, two golds and one silver. The Britain's first ever alpine gold at an Olympic event. How did that feel?
Uh, Very unexpected, but amazing. The first one was so unexpected because it was an alpine combined race, which is one run of Super G, which is straight, and one run of slalom. I had I had a little mess up in the first run, the Super G, where I actually forgot to put my bib on at the start, and then I was like right in the start, and then running around trying to get my bib,
Oh
and
no.
it messed me up, so I made a mistake, and I ended up 2 seconds back in 26th place after the first run. And if you know about ski racing, the second run is always top 30 from the first run flipped, which worked in my favor. So I was going fourth on the second run. And with the way the course set and the snow, I had it perfect. So I knew I had nothing to lose. I mean, so I just, gave it my all and went for it. And it
Yeah.
paid off. I came through the finish. There's a video of me coming through, just kind of looking up and thinking I had a good run, but knowing that there's 26 people left to go that could beat me. So it was quite. I was quite anxious, like sitting at the bottom, watching, waiting and watching one by one, and then you got to like the last 10. You thought it might be possible that I get a medal, and then top three, and then could I get gold? Yeah, it was mad.
I
But
can imagine, like, I always think about that with skiing. Like, it must be just so nerve wracking just sitting there, especially with the World Cup when they're like on camera and
yeah,
like TV could just cut to you at any point and like you just have to watch
yeah,
everyone come down.
yeah. Yeah, no, it was scary, but yeah, so just watching them, and then suddenly, like, the last person came down and went into third or something, and it was an amazing feeling once I had actually gone into the lead. And I think that after that day, uh, after that win, I had a lot of confidence going into the next 2 days. So I knew I had already done I'd already done more than I could have asked for going to South Korea. So I had nothing to lose in the next two, and just went for those two and came out with another two medals. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
So where do you keep your Olympic medals?
Um, well, I have a house in France in the Alps, and that's, although I'm barely there, not even like maybe 2 months a year, which is kind of sad because it's an amazing place to live. But yeah, I keep them everything in my room there.
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying my interview with Zak Carrick-Smith. And welcome to the Chase That Dream podcast. Yes, we've now officially rebranded from the Brit Kids show to the Chase That Dream podcast. I hope you're enjoying it so far. We will be back very soon with some more interviews. So please, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It really does help out to get even bigger guests on. So we will be back very soon with some more interviews. But right now, here is back to the interview with Zak Carrick-Smith. Obviously, the Olympics was such a big thing, and then come to the end of the season, you got into the Europa Cup, which people don't know. It's like the level under the World Cup, which is the World Cup's like the top of skiing as such, and Europa's like the level below. Is that probably right?
Yeah. Europa is like your last step before World Cup.
So what was the process of getting into the Europa Cup?
Well, I already knew by the time I had actually gone, or by the time I came back from the Youth Olympics, I already knew that I was going to be in the Europa Cup squad. That's because there's a certain, you need to be below 35 points, I think it is, to be in the Europa Cup squad, and I had got into that, so I knew I was in. Which, I mean, it's amazing to be in, and it's amazing to know that I can now take that next step towards, my dreams.
Yeah, so how are you feeling going into the upcoming season as you go in to the Europa Cup?
I'm going to do the same as last year, not expect anything, just go into it, have a good time, and ski my best.
Yeah. So now you're in the Europa Cup. What do you have to do to get into the World Cup, and what's your plan for
that? So to actually ski in the World Cup, you have to be top 150 ranked in the world, which is about just under 23 points. And currently I'm on 23.9. So yeah, well, every skier, as they go into fifth, they start at 999 points, and then you bring them down. So I'm on 23.9. So my goal is to get under 23 this season. And after that, I may just not expecting anything, just ski maybe a World Cup or two if I can get under those points, just because, for the experience, and it's just an amazing thing. Like last year, was it? I think... No, maybe the year before last, I forgot to mention I won an international race in the U16 category, and the prize for that was to forerun or open a World Cup race in Slovenia. So that was pretty amazing. So I got to ski down before and actually race it in front of all the top men in the world. So, and after that, I've just I've wanted to go back. So
yeah. So going back to the Olympics, like obviously winning the first Alpine gold, there was a lot of media coverage about it. So how did that feel? Like having a BBC article, many articles, getting on Ski Sunday. How did that feel?
Well, it was unexpected. So straight away after, my socials were going wild. My Instagram went up 2,000 followers. And I'm just sitting there and just constant messages going through all night. It felt pretty cool. But before then, I hadn't really done any interviews, anything social. I hadn't really done any talking. So, just going straight into it was quite hard. Pretty much the afternoon after the race, I did a big interview for the Olympics or something. And so I didn't really know what to do, but it was cool.
I can imagine. So obviously we're now in summer, we're in the off season of skiing. So what is your summer training like?
Well, we're usually on glaciers because, well, there's no snow. We're on. We always come to Norway every year because to get a bit of the salted snow, which is you put down loads of salt and it melts the top layer, so it's ice. Norway every year. Then depending on what happens, we might go somewhere else, maybe New Zealand, maybe America, maybe Sweden after this. And then other than that, it's all fitness. It's all down to just hard work off the slopes too in the gym. Yeah.
So what is that non-skiing training like? Is that mostly like weightlifting?
It's a bit of everything, to be honest. Weightlifting, cycling, running, sprints, hill sprints, jumping. Yeah. It's just constant. Like you have to be the best. You want to be working the hardest.
So I'm guessing that is just to get like your fitness levels up to perform when you're on the slopes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you're currently in Norway doing some pre-season training. So how's it going so far?
It's going good. We've just moved place from a glacier called Uvas, about 5 hours from here, 6 hours from here. And if anybody knows Norway, it's just pretty much constant rain. So we've actually had it decent. We've had a few days of sun, and when it is sunny, it's good. So yeah. And even though it's raining here in Norway most of the time, that actually can be good for us because it kind of keeps the snow not hard, but good that we can salt it and then it's hard, which is exactly what we want. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does the equipment actually affect the skiing, like the brand and also like setup wise?
Well, I think it depends on the skier. Obviously, for the brand, we've tested skis, and now we haven't really tested skis. We started on Fisher when we were super young, and then moved on to Dynastar, and I've stayed on that until now. And from now, I've just signed a 2-year contract with Dynastar. So because they've been working, so I don't really want to change anything. We did actually get offers to test other skis, but I thought, why change it if it's working? So stick to that. But it depends on the skier. I mean, one ski might work for one person, but not for another. And yeah, that's why funding's so important, because the equipment, skis, expensive, and they are important. Yeah.
Yeah, and for like a race, you kind of like have to have like multiple with different like setups, different edges and stuff like that, don't you?
Well, for the World Cup, yeah, they have like, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 pairs of skis they're testing, and then they find the perfect one. They'll say, I want to race on that one, run one, and then I want to race on that one, run two. But before that, you kind of only just have two of each discipline. One for free skiing, and then one and training, and one for racing. So yeah.
Yeah. So what has been the lowest point in your career so far?
The lowest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I've really had a very low, but I guess I had a point where I was frustrated because I had been ahead of my twin brother, and he's kind of like my main rival, not in a bad way, in a good way actually. But I had been ahead of him for a while, and then he had been working hard, and he pushed himself to limit, and he overtook me, and then I just I couldn't play with him. So even though knowing that's actually helped me now, because I managed to push and get to the level where I am. So that's probably, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm guessing your highest point was winning the medals at the Olympics.
Yeah, yeah.
So what does like an average year for you with skiing go? So like training, pre-season training, skiing, racing, how does it all come together in the year?
Well, we get all our summer training done from about June through to October, probably September, October. Like on and off, obviously, because we not everything's skiing. We want to get a bit of summer into, and then we start. Last year we started quite early in beginning of November. We wanted to get our first FIS points going into the new category in an indoor in Germany. Like this way before most of the races had started, and then we went straight to Austria. Go through the whole season, just driving from race to race, going back and forth, and then finish the season about April, mid-April, and after that, every skier is a bit run down after a long season, so they all go off to the beach to just lay and do nothing for a couple of weeks. Where we went to the beach. But we're doing exams, so mix of both. And then after 2 weeks, it's back to fitness training. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine going from like doing a full season straight into like doing exams and GCSEs must have been quite hard.
Yeah, it was. But I just got down, did some studying. I don't really want to talk too much now because if they didn't go well, I don't know. Yeah, it was different, but I still we were down the beach surfing and doing stuff outside, so it was fine.
Yeah. So obviously now you've finished your GCSEs, are you planning to do any more education, further education, or are you focusing on the skiing now?
I do feel like I want to just focus on the skiing, but I know that a bit of education is also important because in case, at the moment I don't want to, but in case in the future I do want to maybe go to uni or something like that. So I know I should try keep up some studies. I'm definitely going to do one more year, do my A-level French next year because it makes sense since I can speak French. And then I'm going to see how my results turn out for my GCSEs and maybe take another subject.
Yeah. So obviously, like, how did you choose? Your focus probably is slalom, isn't it?
Slalom and giant slalom, both.
So how did you choose them over other disciplines?
Well, so there's the main four, I guess: slalom, giant slalom, super giant slalom, and then downhill, which is pretty much straight. You don't do downhill until you're into that senior because it's too dangerous. So there's not actually any under 16 downhill races, and to get training for super G and downhill isn't easy. I mean, you have to rent like entire slopes and it's not easy. So especially as a small team of whatever 5 athletes as us, we can't get super G training, so that kind of made the decision for me. Although I do actually love to go fast, do the speed disciplines, so I'm hoping in the future I might get into that, but at the moment the focus is on slalom and giant slalom, which is what most people do.
Yeah. So what is the average training day for you?
Well, I guess it really depends on where you're training, what you're doing. Like some days you'll want to get up as early as possible and we'll be up skiing by 6. So that we can get, on hard snow before the sun comes out and melts. Like this past week, there was a few days we were up at 6:30 training, and then the next day the lift didn't open till 9 because of the conditions, I guess. So that depends, and then we come back. Also depends, maybe 12 to 3. After that, probably just lay down and chill for a bit, for maybe like an hour, and we'll finish off and do some fitness.
Yeah. So a pretty full day.
Yeah.
So then, like, what is like an average race day for you? Like, what is your routine when coming into a race day?
Well, you want to get up and do some, like warm up before leaving to the race. Then you get up. You also want to get up early on the slopes so you can get a few free runs, get used to the snow, get used to your kit. And then you have an inspection, which is one run where everybody slips down the course and just looks at it because, to try and memorize it and to know what it's going to be like. And then depending on your start number, if you're going later, you're going to want to watch the first people, see how they get on. But if you're going earlier, you just get straight into it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So obviously you're now in the Europa Cup. But what is like the ultimate dream for your skiing career?
Yeah. I've always had the same dream, to become the best skier in the world, basically. And that's the dream. And like I said, it would be nice to have a 1, 2, 3 with my brothers, which sounds far off, but that's the dream.
Yeah. So do you have like a plan for that eventual dream, or are you just taking it season by season, race by race?
Yeah. Taking it day by day, race by race, training, just keep pushing for it and just, enjoy it, because there's no point in getting to the top and, you're there and not having enjoyed the journey. So just, we want to enjoy it too.
Yeah. And obviously, as in most sports, athletes retire from competing usually in about their 30s. Yeah. So what would you plan to do post competing? Are we seeing you in 20 years on Ski Sunday?
I think that's probably too far to decide, but the British #1 skier is actually 38 and he's still competing. He's going to be doing this next season. So I'm kind of looking to just ski until I can't anymore. And I want to, start my first, I want to start my first half of my career and do the tech discipline, slalom, giant slalom. And then because you need a completely different body for the speed, you want to be big and, muscular. Whereas for the tech disciplines, you want to be small and agile. So I want to move for my second half. I want to do the speed disciplines. And then after that, I'll see what happens, I guess. I'd love to get into surfing a bit more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Just like downhill just looks absolutely insane to me. Like, just looking at like the Kitzbühel race, it just looks like insane.
Yeah, well, the Kitzbühel race is one of a kind. The Red Bull is pretty hairy, and yeah. Although some people might look at it and not at all want to do it, I really want to do it. So hopefully one day I'll get to do that too. And there's people like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the finish watching that. So, but yeah, it's pretty mad.
Yeah. So obviously now with you winning the first gold medal in an alpine event for Britain, with Dave Riding winning the first ever Brit to win a World Cup a couple of years ago, where do you see the future of British alpine skiing going?
Well, there's a lot of youngsters coming in now, a lot of good racers, actually very strong British racers. There's me, my 2 brothers, then there's people like Ed Guigonnet, Rob Holmes, all of these young racers. in a way, I would like to have had my Olympics. I would have liked to it. Maybe it's inspired other younger racers for them to compete, and so there's a big field of British racers, and I think over time it's going to get bigger for GB.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned before about your parents both being in the skiing world and obviously your mum being a 4-time Olympian. So like, how did that influence you as a kid? How did looking up to your mum doing 4 Olympics in alpine skiing, like, how was that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. It definitely made me want to, follow in her footsteps. And well, I actually have both of them as my coaches. So my mum and my dad are both coaching me and my brothers. So yeah, them knowing me so closely definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah, so how is that, like, having them as coaches, having like a working as such relationship with them, but also them being parents? What's that difference like?
Um, yeah, it's hard sometimes uh, to be parents and to coach us. But it's good. A lot of the top, in lots of sports, all across, a lot of the top racers, athletes actually have their parents as coaches. There's, yeah, like Schifrin, Michaela Schifrin, the number one, well, I guess you could say skier ever now, as she's got
Yeah.
the most World Cup wins ever. Actually had her mum with her everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you weren't skiing as a career, what do you think you would do?
I don't know. Definitely something to do with sport. Um, I'd want to be a surfer, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah,
So obviously most of the time when you're on the slopes, you're training. So do you ever get the chance to just normally ski?
yeah. Where we'll every now and then you get like a massive powder day where there's no chance of training, and we wait for the clouds to clear and we just all go out, just go out skiing basically just for the fun of it, just doing flips, doing whatever. So yeah, I do.
Yeah, but like when you don't get the chance to do that, when you're in the middle of the season training and training, do you miss just skiing for the fun of it?
Yeah, I do, but I still try to get it in. We still go free skiing, or where we actually stay, we rent a small place for the season in Austria, and you can literally just walk to the slopes. So if we're ever, I'm not training or the weather's not great, I'll just, go off free ski. So yeah, I
Yeah.
still go
So what is your favorite thing about skiing?
in. I've been asked this a lot, but I guess it's not really a simple one word answer. I guess it's just everything. Traveling, you get to see so many amazing places. Then just it's difficult to explain. Just the feeling of going fast, the feeling of the acceleration between turns, the feeling of skiing on a you know on a perfect run where everything comes together, and that feeling when you're improving and slowly getting closer to your dream. So yeah.
Yeah. So what is your favorite thing about like competing in general?
Yeah, I guess the nerves. Um, it's scary, you wake up and you're nervous about the race or what could happen, and I kind of like that feeling, that that feeling before you push out the gate, and then as soon as you push out, you completely forget everything, and then that feeling coming through the finish, and seeing green time on the board, first place. Yeah, there's nothing like it.
So, obviously, you were saying how that you've had obviously one season in the adult FIS tour, and then now you're going on to the Europa Cup. Is that like fast? compared to others?
Yeah, I think it is quite fast. It's not very, it's not very usual to move straight or go into Europa Cup on your second year of FIS. Most people would think, maybe take 2, 3, 4 years, some of them. And to be on 23 points in your first FIS year is pretty much unheard of. It's happened, as in some of the World Cup guys have been on it. Even Marcel Hirscher, who was, some people think of him as the greatest male skier ever, was on like 25, 26 after his first year. So yeah, I definitely didn't expect it.
Does that give you more confidence going into the next season?
Yeah, it makes me feel like I know that. I feel like my skiing is going quite well now at the moment. So even though I'm not really going to try expect anything in going into the next season, I just want to ski, have fun, enjoy it, and I'll just see what happens.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to any aspiring skier who wants to make ski racing in their career?
Yeah. Well, just no matter, it depends. Sorry, I'm going to go back to start. Yeah, if you really want to do it, there's nothing can stop you. Basically, it's just all about hard work and keep pushing for it. If you're the hardest working out there, you're going to end up on top. Talent only gets you so far. I've heard so many people say that, Rich, and I 100% believe in it. Talent can get you to probably, U14 end of that. And then after that, it's just pure hard work and, discipline, basically.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to anyone who wants to compete professionally in sports generally? Would you give similar advice?
Yeah. If you really have your mind set on it, there's not really anything that can stop you, basically.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you would give similar advice to someone that's just chasing their dream generally. Like the new name of this podcast is called Chase That Dream Podcast.
Yeah.
So would you just give that advice of working hard to chase your dream?
Well, the same, yeah, working hard, never giving up. And obviously you want to be doing something that you enjoy in anything in life. You don't want to be stuck on a job that you can't, that you don't like. You want to be doing something that you enjoy. Well, yeah, we all only live once, so you want to be doing something that makes you happy, basically. Anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again. That's all we've got time for in this episode. We will hopefully be back on the 21st of July with another great interview at the same time. But for now, goodbye.